Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Tales with TR episode 264B. Just a reminder, we're also on YouTube. Never say that. And the vast majority of my audience listens to podcasts, but there you go. We are also on YouTube. And you go to the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN, somewhere under that umbrella, you will find a link to the podcast. I should know that better. Also, terryryan.ca. Go there if you want to book me for an event, if you want to order a book, you want to order a video. You have a wondering where I'm going to be next. I got my upcoming events posted. You want some merch? It's all kinds of things. Check it out, and also recommendations. And I got to update that soon. Some real recommendations, not just people that are advertising. Oh, I recommend Pepsi because they give me all kinds of free cases. No, I don't mean it like that. I think what I got up there now is Jeremy Charles, awesome book called The Wildness, and I got some Dolo action up there. Joe Dolo, who's one of my favorite rappers, and of course just happens to be my castmate. But I wouldn't just put it up there. I know all kinds of people that have all kinds of things on the go, and I'm not just going to promote them all. It's just like when you guys hear me do the ads at the end of my podcast. Those are friends, but they're also places that I like to frequent. Each bar I mention, each restaurant are places that I like to go. You know, when it comes to like Mr. Lube and stuff, that's just, they're good friends, of course, Chris Sparks, but they sponsor our ball hockey team and all those sorts of things. So there's Mr. Lube's obvious. You know, you want to fucking oil change, you go to Mr. Lube. You know, unless they do a shitty job, I can recommend that. But when it comes to restaurants and you know, same with Crown Cabinets and all that stuff. I forgot to do those. Yeah. Crown Cabinets. Jordy Escott, hit me up. You need a catchphrase. Anyway, there's where we are. I'm going to answer a couple of questions here. Now, I'm going to answer a question, and then I'm going to bring in, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in a surprise guest that we didn't think was going to come. First of all, Xavier wants to know, will two more teams water down the National Hockey League? Well, from my point of view, I know I hear people talk about this, but like, define water down. Like, right now, what's there? I'm just quick math: 32 teams, you know, 20 out. So there's 700 players in the NHL. You know, and if you take the way the game is now, the third and fourth line are great skaters. I think there might be a lot more third and fourth liners out there. Not a lot, but you know, you're talking about adding two teams. As a player, I love it. Promoting the game, I love it. Where are they talking about? Let's just say I don't think they're going to go to Quebec. I hope Quebec get a team back at some point. Quebec Nordiques were fucking just great for every reason. And they, not just hockey, but Quebec City is awesome to visit. It really represents, you know, Montreal is Montreal, but you can, any hockey fan that speaks, you know, you don't have to speak, or it doesn't have to be a hockey fan. You can go to Montreal and not speak a lick of French and get by. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could get by in Quebec, but it's way more francophone. It has a real flavor to it. And the Nordiques were so important to that city and meant so much. Not unlike the Habs, but I just would love to see them get their team back. Whereas I hear the team might be going to Atlanta. I don't know if people in Atlanta are dying to get another pro hockey team back. And this is like try number 3 or 4. So why would you do it again? I'll tell you why. It's the southern states. I think the powers that be, Gary Bettman and otherwise, want to see hockey succeed down there. It'd be huge for ratings and for the growth of the sport. And I understand that. I do understand it. I'd rather a team in Quebec. They're talking about Houston, maybe. That'd work. Just like Seattle. People, I don't know if it'll work in Seattle. Well, look, I played junior in Seattle in front of 20,000 or whatever it was, 15. You know, multiple times. It doesn't surprise me that the NHL took off there. Tri-Cities, Tacoma Rockets had a team. There's teams all over Washington State. Spokane, you know, it's not really well known in the East or in Canada. Now it might be with the Seattle Kraken, but hockey was always big there. Didn't spend same thing in Houston. Back Gordie fucking Howe played there. They've always had a team, multiple teams. So I'd love to see the game grow. Where I think it starts to be rough is when it's on guy like Connor McDavid, you know, which this is just a slight concern as a player. Just the best players, and you might, yeah, he's generational, obviously. You used to judge players on if they won or not. Now, I still think you can do that. Because to win your division, to win your conference is 16 teams. If you got a team like Connor McDavid on it, for all those years in a row. You should come first out of those 16 at some point, and they did the last 2 years. Now you get yourself against the other 16, and they've come up short twice. I do think you could still kind of judge him at the end of his career if he doesn't win one. Not to the same level, of course, as anybody like Gretzky, I think, came in when there was 21 teams, maybe 26 when he won his last cup, but no, it was between 21 and 26. I don't have time to do the math. But, if you go back to the 6-team league, then I think you can really judge. Are you fucking kidding me? If you're supposed to be the best player by a landslide and you go even 10 years back then without winning and there's 6 teams, you're not even winning. The law of averages says you're going to win every 6. You got the best fucking players, you should win a bunch. And this is exactly what Rocket Richard, Jean Beliveau, and company did, right? Then it expanded a little bit. Can't remember how many teams in the 70s, but the dynasties stayed similar. And, the 80s came and saw the Islanders and the Edmonton Oilers emerge as dynasties of their era. It's tougher to do that now, but players do it. Right? Like Florida were just in their 3rd cup in a row, and they won 2 of them. Edmonton were in 2, and I do believe they'll figure it out. That Sidney Crosby came in with 32 teams, or 30, right? What the fuck was there now? 32. And Vegas were brand new, right? Yeah, so 30 would have been there because Phoenix moved to Utah. Winnipeg, came from Winnipeg, moved to Phoenix, moved to Utah. Anyway, 32. So, like, Crosby did it, right? He won 3. Right? Not that Patrick Kane is generational. Some people were saying that at the beginning, but he was a first overall pick, came in, did it. Right? He did it. Alexander Ovechkin figured out a way. Nathan McKinnon, right? These are players that I'm putting in the same ilk as McDavid. A lot of people might put him ahead of those players. I don't think you can do that yet, certainly if you don't win. Because those players did win in a salary cap, multiple team, 30, 32 team era. But from every other angle, I like it. It promotes our game. Our game. It is our game. You don't have to be Canadian. If you're a fan, it's your game. So I don't see a problem with it. Maybe where to distribute the teams, then we can talk from there. As I said, I'm partial to. I mean, I'd love to see one in Halifax, to be honest with you. And I think you could sell that fucking. That would be such a ride that I think you would get season ticket holders from Newfoundland that would fly over for the games. I do. Something so close. I think you'd have all of Atlantic Canada. I think you'd have that thing sold out every night. I do. Now, it might take away from the Halifax Mooseheads. And I don't think that's a realistic possibility anytime in the future. Hey, I'd love to see it expand overseas. Have a winner over here, the winner over there. Stanley Cup versus whatever cup. And then, who knows, maybe when robots run the world in 100 years. And watered down, I don't know, man. I don't know. Think of how many players are out there that get traded that end up in a better situation and do really well. I don't know. One right now might be with the Leafs, Nick Robertson. It seems to me he can score. I don't know if maybe I'm wrong, but guys like that take off. Is it Mason Marchment? Is he one of those that happened? God, I could be wrong on the name. I know he's playing, but a couple of these guys, they emerge. They seemingly come out of nowhere, but they didn't come out of nowhere. They've been scoring. They're good players, great players, wwherever they go. The Leafs are talking about Easton Cowan, trading him right away. I mean, this guy just the MVP 2 years in a row of the CHL. He won the scoring, cleaned up at the Memorial Cup. But, I don't know if it's the Leafs because they're so much, but you got to think that there's probably a place on the top 6 somewhere for him. There's players tomorrow that'll get sent to Europe because there's nowhere for them. But really, if they just didn't get a chance to catch on, where you might think I'm insane when you hear me say this, but there are players that won't play in the NHL this year that I guarantee you could be 25 goal scorers in the NHL. It happens. We see it all the time. Players go over and come back. I remember in my era then out of the Western League, Marty Murray. Marty made it, and then he went to Europe, and they brought him back again, and he became this real reliable. I can't remember how many goals, but he was a really, really reliable NHLer. So water down, I won't go that. I mean, it's going to obviously, by definition, water down. You mean like, you're going to disperse the talent a little thinner. Of course, but I just think there's a lot of talent out there. I think we're underestimating how much and how many leagues are out there with great players that are NHL players caliber that probably just don't get that chance. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, if I came into the league now and I looked at my chances of winning the Stanley Cup, it'd be an uphill battle. But Isn't life? Isn't life? Now, we have an unplanned special guest. Here we go. She is an icon in Quebec and a well known, experienced actress all over the world, having starred in such shows as Bad Blood, Shadowhunters, 1902, amongst others. Shoresy fans will also recognize her as Jill, proud hockey parent slash shit disturber, who appears in season 3 and 4, and who knows, maybe season 5. Shoresy, now on Hulu and Crave. She made a Twitch when I was a boy, ladies and gents. It's Maxim Roy. There you go. That's what you get with a short amount of time to prepare. But she's one of my favorites. We just visited Southern Shore. How did you enjoy that, Max?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Cliffs Edge Retreat. Let's just talk about that first. Did you enjoy your experience? And why are you in Newfoundland in the first place, which I should have mentioned in your intro?
Oh, that's right. Yes, I did enjoy it. It's magical, and I actually thought I could live there for the first time since I've been visiting St. John's, Newfoundland. It's quite magical. That place is extraordinary. And I got to see whales and dolphins this morning. And yeah, it was beautiful.
You're here because, I mentioned all these roles, and the most recent and most local would be your role in, you explained to us why you're in Newfoundland.
I'm here for Saint Pierre, that series on CBC. And who does it? I mean, we shot, I think, 2 weeks in St. Pierre. I was there for 3 days, but most of it is shot in St. John's, actually.
And it's so those that know, I got my start in the TV show Republic of Doyle. That was Alan Hawko, who was the Jared Kiso of sorts, just being a writer, producer, star of. And now he's got Saint Pierre on the go, and this would be season 2. Who do you play? Well, I guess, can you talk much about that?
I don't know if I can talk. Well, I know they've been posting pictures, so yes, I can. Yeah, I play the new prefect, Charlotte Diard, directly from Paris, and I come in to put some order in the place.
Interesting. Now, speaking of that, speaking of order, and speaking of film roles, speaking of hockey, speaking of leadership, tell us about your role. So you were in a TV show, a well-known in Quebec, and just tell us. It was based on hockey, and I've heard of it. I've heard, and of course, we had He Shoots, He Scores. I remember seeing that as a kid. 10, 11 years old. It used to come on TV, and I enjoyed hockey, but the subject matter was a little bit beyond my understanding as a 10-year-old. But now you tell us how you came into that world, and how how was the experience for you?
So I think Shoresy is like the 5th project that I've been on that's about hockey, which is very strange because I started with Les Boys. I think everybody knows in Canada, Les Boys was a long time ago, but which was a huge hit. And then that show, He Shoots, He Scores, which is Lancer Compte in French. So that was a really long time. I was very young too when that came out. And then they did a new generation. And I came in and I was hired to play a hockey coach who became the assistant hockey coach in the NHL for the National de Québec, which was like the Nordiques.
So, this is just eerily prophetic, given that Jessica Campbell just got the first job. So you played a girl of that ilk, a number of years ago.
Yeah. My character was Michelle Béliveau, and she was based on Danielle Sauvageau, who was the first female coach in the junior hockey league, who went on to become the coach for the girls' national team, and they won the gold medal at the Olympics. And I remember at the time when I was prepping to do Lancer Compte, I would hang out with Danielle a lot. I would go see every game, and you were on the team. Yeah, at that wild point. That's wild. And I've probably met you. And then when Lancer Compte came out, we actually had a charity game, and you're probably there.
I remember, to be honest with you, you told me about playing softball as well, because we used to do a lot of those with a lot of the charity events I did at the time. I would stay in Montreal, train with the guys, and it just experienced Montreal in the summer, and part of that was to go around with the legends and play these games. And I remember you, again, in passing, I know we must have met a few times. I do remember once, way back then, you showing up, and you told me you had a Harley, and I could have I could have guessed it. I remember there being a little bit of a buzz. Again, I was new in Quebec, being 18 or 19 at first. And one of the first people I heard of, like, you were in your prime. I mean, you were well known in Quebec. Now, I know you're a humble person, but was that timing of that, was that, was that fame, and I don't mind saying that, a result of the hockey shows you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, because that was, in English Canada and in Quebec is very different. We People watch TV in Quebec. They watch their own shows, and we talk about, like, I think L'Enseignement had over 2 million viewers, if maybe 2,500,000 viewers,
Okay,
which is huge.
that's where I was going.
And compared to English Canada, where, you have to compete with American shows, it's not the same. Nowadays, it's different. Like with Shoresy, either it's on a streamer and that can be sold everywhere in the world. But back then, it wasn't that way. And so, and I was on, I don't know, I think I was on 4 shows at the same time. I
Oh
was
yeah.
on The Last Chapter, which was a bilingual double shoot. It was on CBC and Radio Canada. It was a biker series. There was Lancé Compte, and then there was another show, and then I was interviewing people. Anyway, I was everywhere. Oh, and it was, yeah, it was a lot. But Lancé Compte is particular because when we went, and because we shot at the Colisée de Québec, and the Nordiques had gone, I think, was it 5 years or maybe a bit more? Um, I remember when we started shooting, we had to fill up the Colisée, and they were very worried that nobody would show up. And it was in March. I remember because it was the first day of shooting was my birthday, March 7th. It was friggin' cold, and people were lining up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the cold to get into the Colisée. And we start shooting, as you know, like at 8 o'clock in the morning. People were lining up around Le Colisée. So it was packed. And you could feel that they were just missing the Nordiques so much. But when the National, the characters, the actors came on the ice, the place erupted. It was so emotional, and you could feel that that city is just, it's a hockey town. And I would really hope for them to get their team back.
You know, I can't believe this because that's what I was talking about earlier. And just look, this guy Xavier sent me a message. Will 2 more teams water down the NHL? And I don't think so. And if I could see a team go anywhere, which I have no control over it, and most fans don't, I would think Quebec. And I was giving him my reasons. It's funny that we just happen to have you here today, and that's the question I answered. Now, I know we want to stay on hockey. Well, a lot of people out there want me to, but I have to talk about it because it's one of the best Canadian shows ever, I think. So you're on a show called 19-2. Okay. Now, is that where you met Jared Kiso, first of all? Because Keese plays, and those out there, Shoresy fans that don't know what I'm talking about, and you want to experiment a little bit and you want to chase Jared into every rabbit hole that he's ever experimented with as an actor, you check out 19-2. There's some poignant moments. Like, you watch a series, there's 3 or 4 that you'll remember forever. And I find it much like Shoresy is a hockey show, but I think most people watching can relate. Hockey's just the vehicle. Well, this is largely it's a police. What would you call it? It's a show based around, yeah, about cops, based on the police, but not just problems that they solve, internal conflict, adversity they face. And it's very poignant. It's very important. And I think one of the best TV shows to ever come out of Canada. Now, did you realize, first of all, is that where you met Jared? And did you realize while you were doing that how good of a show it was? Because at this point, you become a wily veteran of the. Now, it happens to be shot in Montreal as well. So tell us, I guess, about the whole experience outside of one question, just because I really, really love that show. And the fact that you're on there and such a big part of it, I guess, makes you in itself a Canadian icon, even though you've done so much else. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'm really happy that 192 has gotten a second life on Netflix, if that's where you can watch it in Canada. It is where I met Jared. Funny enough, when we were shooting the pilot, because we shot the pilot and then it took a year to get a green light to actually do it, um, he was starting Letterkenny at that point, and that was on YouTube, and he was showing us what he was doing, and we were like, oh, this is a cool show. And then when we got signed by Bell, that's when they signed him on
Ah.
to do Letterkenny. And so that's where I met him. And as you said, I think 19.2 is a special show because it was based on a French Canadian series first. And that show was a huge, huge hit in Quebec and one of the best shows of all times, I think. I
Was
don't
the
think
name of it the same?
19-2.
Okay.
19-2, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was an adaptation, but what was really great about 19.2 for me as a Montrealer is that for the first time, it's a show that it's actually set in Montreal. It's not Montreal as Chicago or Boston or New York or whatever. It's in Montreal. And if you haven't seen it or you want to watch it again, notice that everything around in the set is in French. So we were shooting in the French set, and as you watch the show, it's like all the names are French. Like
Yeah.
my character is Isabelle Latendresse. The only character's name that was changed was Baron, Nick Baron, who plays my ex-husband, who's Jared's partner. But it's like there was a show called the Borgias, which was an Italian. It was
Yeah, I know.
it so
It's a great
it
movie.
but it was a great show, and so it's like you're watching the show and you're listening in you're understanding in English, but we're actually speaking French. That was the premise. So everything is in French in the show, but you're hearing it in English. But so as a Montreal and French Canadian, that was really special for me. But what's great about that show is it's not a procedural. It's not about the people that are getting arrested. It's about the actual cops. They could have been anything else, but it's about these human beings going through traumatic events and how they go through their life and dealing with trauma as cops and the relationships in the precinct. So it's a human show, I think. And that's why it was such a success and everybody loved it. And we won so many awards and Jared was phenomenal. And if we actually, when we were shooting, oh, maybe I should, yeah, I can. Season 5 of Shoresy, he was telling me, I've started watching again and his voice is so much deeper on short. Yeah, yeah, and he really lowered he's such a phenomenal actor. And it's funny when people only know him from Shoresy and then they see him in 19.2. It's two completely different people, and he's a real character actor in the body of a leading man. He's like Paul Newman. He's so gorgeous and nice and talented, but he's beyond that. And he was phenomenal in 19.2.
Well said. Now, you being, I said, local and from Montreal, and you expect, but are you from like growing up? You didn't come from downtown, did you? You came from the outskirts. How far from Montreal, and what was your upbringing? I know you've got some brothers that are involved in the industry. So loosely, just tell us a little bit about your connection to that world and growing up, where you grew up, and when you decided you wanted to be an actor.
I was born and raised in a very small town called Rigaud, which is like an hour from Montreal. It's between Ottawa and Montreal. And I moved to Montreal when I was 17. And I always knew I wanted to be an actress because my 3 older brothers are actors. They all went to theater school, National Theatre School of Canada, and then conservatory. So I knew, and we have a huge age difference. So when I was 5 or 6, my brother entered National Theatre School of Canada. So I was like, that's what I want to do. So I always knew what I wanted to do for a living. And so I was raised around boys, around hockey, because my dad was a hockey coach. My 3 brothers played hockey and baseball. And I was very much a tomboy for a very long time. And which you have a hard time to believe, but I was, and and so yeah, I started early. I wanted to go to National Theatre School of Canada. I was prepping my auditions to go, and then I got a lead in a huge series, and I never went. I just started working when I was 20.
And wait, and I think before that there was a TV commercial, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was it was Laurentide beer that you probably knew when you were in Montreal. It was very yeah. And I was 18 when I got that. I just turned 18 and we flew to Mexico, went back in the day when we had money to shoot commercials, and I went and shot that commercial, and that played during the playoffs. That was the year 93. during
Yeah.
the playoffs. It was on rotation because it was Molson. Laurentine was Molson. It was on rotation on TV during the playoffs. So that's the first time I got recognized from TV. And
Stacy, was it? Is that your name?
Sophie.
Sophie.
Sophie, yeah. So, yeah. So people would just shout at me, "Hey, Sophie, do you want a beer on the on the street?" And I was like, I was so young. I was a baby. I didn't understand what was happening, but it was so naive. But yeah,
That's interesting, and I love that you tell that part of the story because even though it's seemingly off the radar now, you can find it on YouTube though. You can find it, and I think that's a great place to get your start. Now, tell us a little bit. I know we spoke about the Cliff's Edge retreat and coming over to do Saint Pierre and Saint Pierre, as you say, and the people that you've met and little part. But have you enjoyed your experience overall? I know you came here for the first time only about what 2 months ago, and we were out. I
no,
think.
in 2019 for Hudson and
Okay.
Rex.
Wait. Yes, you did. You did come over for that. So this is funny, but it Max and I spoke on Shoresy and realized that we're in the same episode of Hudson and Rex. I play a bit of a gangster, potential killer. I get caught, and she's in the. I'm kind of chasing after her, but
Do you play the bad guy?
I play the bad guy. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm a
I'm
killer.
accused of being the killer, but you're the actual killer.
I don't know if I'm the killer. I can't remember. I know that I attempt to because I'm in the woods and I have a gun, and then as I'm sneaking up to do some killing, the dog takes me out, and Johnny Reardon arrests me, and then or Charlie, I guess, or Hudson, and then I end up getting taken in but the thing is, at the time, I do remember rewatching it. It was new to me, but it was a job. I was on crew, and I came and I spent a lot of time doing the stunts, and I mean, I remember watching it as a bit of a novelty, as you do when you're not on there, and seeing you somewhere along the way. But I didn't realize we were in that same episode for some reason.
We didn't meet
We
at
didn't
all.
meet,
No,
and
no.
I guess when we didn't meet and we spoke about it. So I find that really ironic, first of all. And so outside of that experience, because you came in here, that would have been a little bit in a box, though. You're only here for a few days. It was one episode, but you came back and as you were here, found out that you had an opportunity in Saint Pierre. Now you've been back 3 or 4 times to Newfoundland since that first experience, and this summer quite a bit. We've gone to a concert, the Romantics and Chilliwack played, Billy and the Bruisers. That was an awesome night. You've seen downtown, you've seen the Bay, you've seen the East Coast Trail, you've seen whales, you've seen dolphins, you've seen puffins, eagles, Signal Hill. Like it seems that we Cape Spear. You've taken in an awful lot. The pedestrian walk. I can go on and on and on. Now, what do you think of our province? And I know that you live as part of the time, at least in old Montreal, and I think there are similarities with our downtown. But overall, what do you think of our humble little Canadian city on at its easternmost edge?
Well, first of all, George Street is impressive. I I was not expect I mean, you've talked about it so much, but I was not expecting it. I feel like the night we were out on Friday, it was like Cancun to me. It was just crazy. People everywhere dancing in all ages. That's what was interesting to me too, is that everybody in every bar has live music. And it's always and I was out on Sunday night again. Just went for dinner and there was a musicians everywhere on a Sunday night and people were out and it's a very it's crazy. It's a whole different world here and that people are very encouraging in their own talent and culture and music. And when we were out, like the guys were singing, there was um what's his name? The singer who's so good. I am blanking on his
What
name.
do you mean, Nick Earl?
Nick
Like,
Earl.
yeah.
Nick Earl was singing some Newfoundland song, and everybody in the bar just was singing along and just so proud. You guys are incredibly proud of your province and your culture and your heritage, which I find really beautiful. Sometimes, I mean, I feel Quebecers are, but not as much as we used to be. And you guys seem to be really encouraging of your talents, and even you get recognized, and your people stop you and just are very proud of you. And I find that really beautiful. So, yeah. And aside from that, I think you guys are really tough. You're just, and I think you have to be in this climate. It's a tough climate to be in, I think, like weather wise, but um, yeah, you guys are tough cookies.
I think that I've spoken. I think having pride in where we're from and who we are as people. Over time it gets You go back 1600, 1602, the first Western or European year-round settlements were close to here. Harbor Grace, it filtrated. St. John's, one of the oldest cities in North America. You could say the oldest. Goes back and forth with St. Augustine, Florida. But what are we talking about? We're splitting hairs. 400 years plus, people have been here and having to deal with that. Imagine before the technology of electricity, even. You're and for the most part on these ports and these bays and these cliffs, wharfs, and you got these houses that are subject to so much weather and so much adversity. I use that word again. As people, and these small, you got to come together. That's why we have so many storytellers. People, my family out around St. Joseph's, we were almost there today, the Southern Shore. A lot of them would say that they're not performers or they're not talented, yet they'll break out an accordion and everybody will just burst into song at some point. And there's poets on the streets. And I think, and a lot of us are writing about our own place. It reminds me of Ireland that way. There's a lot of Ireland's overrepresented when it comes to writers and poets. There's only a few million people in Ireland, but some of the most important ever are from there, right? And there a lot of them are writing about Ireland. It's not just let me go somewhere and come up with a detective caper. You know what I mean? Like the Nick is a great rock and roll musician, but once in a while, it's in his blood. He'll play a Newfoundland and we'll all get up and sing. And I think everybody here is proud of it because we were unrecognized for so long, and now recently for so many reasons. Well, we've been proud anyway, but for so many reasons now that we get to show it off to the world. And the George Street and downtown St. John's, I think, that's the nucleus of it all. That's where most tourists come, and we know that. And people that are going down there know that. Like we're in what? We're in Mount Pearl now, about 10, 15 minutes away from downtown core. If you don't want to go down there, you don't. But and most people do. Like like my neighbor Lucy, Craig across the street. We'll often talk about. It's an It's a decision. You go down there. There's going to be tourists. Going to be celebrating Newfoundland. It's going to be somewhat of a party, and yet it's packed all the time, even on Sundays. You can go down there on Monday night, the slowest night of the week. In most places, there's at least a musician playing, and of course, even the most rock and roll musician will play the odd song that talks about our province in a positive way. So I'm
But I
glad you
think
noticed that.
I think the word resilient is the word that I would describe
Good word.
Newfoundlanders for sure. Like you're incredibly resilient, and that's one of the things that when we first met and you were telling me your story, and then I read your book. You're an incredibly resilient person, but I think it's in your genes. Like that's how you guys are here. You're the mental toughness you guys have. Because it's not an easy place to live and to survive. So you have to be tough.
Well, thanks for noticing that because we are really proud of it, and that's on display. And it doesn't, I guess, take a genius to notice it, but I'm glad you brought it up because sometimes it's taken for granted so much, as we do other places as well. I'm not certainly poking any fun at people, but it often doesn't get talked about enough. I think that it's nice here and it's beautiful, but the pride that we have in delivering that message, to people that come from the outside. Just talk to any cab driver. Um, anyway, this has been great. You got to take off for a few reasons, but do you have anything to add? Don't you have something to promote? Do you have anything coming up, or can we talk about that yet?
What do we have? Well, there's a movie that's going to come out called Tight Lettuce. And what is it? Shoresy and Saint Pierre. And then I feel I'm missing something, but I
Well, let's say this. I know that you might do some writing here and there, and you can't talk about it much, but you just had a pitch. It seemed to go okay. Who knows where that's going to go? But we can't talk about it now. But for updates, your Instagram handle is what?
Maxim Roy. That's it.
Okay, Maxim
Yeah,
underscore Roy.
oh yeah, there's the underscore. Yeah, at the end, but I'm
You got to be
verified.
okay. So Maxim Roy is a very popular name. Okay, so
Is it popular?
Because of you. You got what, 90,000? You got more than I do. So people are going there. So direct them exactly. What I'm saying is that if you say Maxim Roy, it's going to be some fake account with someone.
No,
Yeah.
blue check mark.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
verified. I'm verified. So there is a blue check mark beside my.
There you go. Okay.
And it's my face. It's my face. So.
And so follow. Yeah, it's still going to be your face either way. So follow along with that, and we'll see exactly what we're talking about right now. I know that you have to be tight-lipped for good reason, but those things are all great. Of course, the most important that I'm going to say is Shoresy. As a Newfoundlander, I would say check out St. Pierre. And the head of lettuce? I don't know what that, tight lettuce.
Tight lettuce.
Okay, check out that as well. I didn't know about that. As well as anything else, just check Maxim_Roy with a check mark.
No, it's Maxim Roy _
Maxim Roy _ with a check mark. I'm Terry Ryan 2020, and I'm here to remind you, if you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, folks, what a beautiful time to be down there. And if you're down there, you go to George Street. Why not check out Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, Martini Bar, Green Sleeves, and of course the Bull and Barrel. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, check out Loose Tie, Blue on Water, Wedgwood Cafe. And you know what? You like Adelaide, right? Adelaide are pretty good to us.
Yeah.
That's it. See what I mean? I was talking earlier. I like to just promote local places. They don't technically pay for advertising, but they've treated us really well. Get some Adelaide Oyster House, but it's just great food, great times. They turn the music up a little bit loud. Some people love it, some people hate it. If you're on your way out, I strongly recommend.
And Cliff's Edge Retreat.
Of course, and Cliff's Edge Retreat. Well, I was going to get there. No, you're right. Cliff's Edge Retreat. What would be a good tagline for Cliff's Edge Retreat?
Oh, I'm not good with that.
Soar above the rest. Come to Cliff's Edge Retreat. I mean, I don't know. All I know is that I'm a Newfoundlander. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in or out of our province. And it's an awesome place to say. Check it out, Cliff's Edge Retreat. And they also have an Instagram handle. I forget what it is, but just Google it. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations here in Newfoundland and Labrador, St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. One's on Kemount Road, one's on Torbay Road. Live, laugh, lube. If you want to work out, if you want strength and balance for the body and mind, go to Ryan Power Conditioning. Strength, balance, body, mind. It's on Rope Walk Lane. Crown Cabinets. Do what's right. Just check out Crown Cabinets. Mugsy Jeans. I loves me Mugsy Jeans. They're comfy. They're fitting. They're fitting. They're fitting. They fit well. They're comfy. I travel a lot, no shit. And that's the best plug I can give Mugsy Jeans is that I wear them all the time when I travel because they feel like pajama pants. Almost every pair of jeans I have is Mugsy Jeans. I loves me Mugsy Jeans. True Hockey. Take what's yours. The Carpet Factory, laying the carpet for your community. And of course, GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community if your community happens to be Edmonton, Alberta, and vicinity. Folks, thanks for listening. This has been Terry Ryan and
Maxim Roy.
And this has been Tales with TR. We'll be back in just a couple of days with more stories and tales. Thanks for listening.